My my guess, my knowledge says that if ilia Topuira is able to hurt Charles Oliveira, he will put Charles Oliveira away. I don't think he's going to allow Charles Oliveira to get back to his feet and go again.
He just don't know what to expect. I don't know if Elias thinks he's going to walk through Oliveira. He might, but you just never know.
I will have the opportunity to submit him in the fights. Of course, I will go for it. But to be honest, it's not in my game plan to go for the submission. My game plan is to stay there.
Demetrius Mighty Mouse has given his brutal statements regarding the UFC 317 main event bout between Charles and Ilia. Building on that confidence, Demetrius Johnson highlighted Topuiria's mental toughness. Johnson believes if Topuria hurts Oliveira, he won't back off. He'll press the advantage, perhaps even taking Charles down to secure a finish. Advantage rather than backing off.
This fight is going to happen. Charles Oliveira taking on ilia Topuira. I'm going to go with ilia Topuira. The reason why is because when Charles Oliveira, he has been dropped multiple times in his fights. And ilia Topuira has been dropped, a couple times in his fight when he fought Jay Herbert. The athlete who got back up and started taking it more to his opponent on the feet they both have, I should say. But I like how ilia Topuira goes about when he does get dropped. He keeps on pressing the pace. He keeps on trying to knock out his opponent. My guess, my knowledge says that if ilia Topuira is able to hurt Charles Oliveira, he will put Charles Oliveira away. I don't think he's going to allow Charles Oliveira to get back to his feet and go again. If he does, he's very confident that he's going to be able to knock him out. So I'm very excited. If this fight does happen, I think it's going to take place in International Fight Week.
Building on that, Kai Kara France shared his admiration for Charles Oliveira, recalling the times he's met him and describing him as the people's champion. He praised Oliveira's incredible journey through the UFC, from a rocky start to an inspiring run of victories and title defenses. For Kai, this is exactly what makes the sport so special, the ability to bounce back and defy expectations. He questioned how anyone could not appreciate Charles, given the adversity he's overcome and the heart he's shown every step of the way.
I love Charles. He's the man. I've met him a few times, and he's just like the people's champ. His story and like his journey that he's had in the UFC, it's just like, that's what I love about the sport. You can't count anyone out. And even, his rough start in the UFC or where he was at, and then to go on this massive win streak, win the belt, defend it, like, how can you not love him? And like, just meeting him in person, he's just such a relatable person. Like, he's just a fan favorite. Like, I've done a few guest fighters with him, a guest appearance with him on Fight Week, and yeah, just really liked him. Well, like, gravitated towards him, just not just a fighter, but just as a normal guy.
However, Kai also gave high praise to ilia Topuira, calling him one of the best fighters in the UFC today. He pointed to Topuria's elite skill set and his ability to be extremely selective with his shots, making every strike count. Kara France emphasized that the way Topuria handled elite names like Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski puts him in a league of his own. In his view, Topuria is a once-in-a-lifetime type of athlete.
He's so good at what he does, and like what we talked about, being really selective of his shots and really precise. He's one of the best to do it. Like, to take out Max, to finish Max, like, no one does that. To finish Volk, one of my teammates, like, this is like one in a lifetime kind of athlete. So yeah, it's a unique matchup because on the ground, Oliveira is so dangerous, and he doesn't mind getting taken down or giving up the takedown to get to his back. But also his hands what's it called? They're not as respected as they should be, because he is dangerous on his feet. Like, he's got great Muay Thai, and he's finished fights standing. So,
in addition, Kai Kara France admitted there's still a layer of unpredictability surrounding this matchup. He questioned whether ilia Topuria might be underestimating Charles Oliveira, possibly believing he can walk straight through him. But in a sport where confidence can quickly become overconfidence, Kara France warned that Topuria could get caught coming in and find himself on the ground, a place where Oliveira thrives. In that scenario, he noted it only takes a moment for Charles to wrap up a neck, and just like that, it could all be over.
He just don't know what to expect. I don't know if Elias thinks he's going to walk through Oliveira. He might, but you just never know. He might, get caught on the way in thinking overly confident, okay, I can take this guy out, and then end up on the ground, you know, half rocked, and, you know, Oliveira jumps on his neck, and it's a wrap. So I'm intrigued about this matchup. It's a great main event. You know, people are going to be tuning in, but the best thing about it is they're going to more eyes, so I can steal the spotlight.
Moreover, Ilia Topuira brushed off any talk about height and weight advantages, calling it irrelevant once the cage door shuts. For him, none of that will matter when the fight begins. He made it clear that he plans to close the distance on Charles, force the engagement, and put him on the canvas with his lights out. In Topuira's mind, when the dust settles, the only thing that will matter is the result, and he's aiming to make a definitive statement.
It's not a secret that he's taller than me, but who cares? Once I want to close the distance, he's going to end up on the floor with his lights out, and that's all important about the story. I will have the opportunity to submit him in the fights. Of course, I will go for it. But to be honest, it's not in my game plan to go for the submission. My game plan is to stay there, to take his head off. And if he wants to go to the ground and pull to his guard, I will go with him. I don't have any problem to going with him to the ground. So I could submit him. I can knock him out. Whatever I want, I can do with him. I know that he has the most finishes in the UFC history, but as I said, I feel that I'm much better than him everywhere.
However, Topuira promised to bring a level of intensity that Charles Oliveira has never faced before. He stated that his approach will be relentless, overwhelming Oliveira with a combination of power and speed that will leave no room to breathe. Confident in his ability to set a punishing pace, Topuira made it clear that he's coming to dominate from the opening bell.
He fought with guys that none of them are named Ilia Topuira. He never faced that matador. He's gonna feel something completely different that he felt in the past with any opponents he had, and he's gonna feel that since the first second of the fight. Something completely different. The power, the speed, the fight IQ, the technique. Everything he's gonna feel, it's gonna be different.
In addition, Robert Whittaker pointed to Ilia Topuira's effectiveness in close-range exchanges, highlighting his exceptional dirty boxing as a key weapon. He admitted that, based on what he's seen, it's hard to envision Charles Oliveira coming out on top in this matchup. For Whittaker, the edge clearly leans toward Topuira, whose skill set and pressure make him a tough puzzle for Oliveira to solve.
Charles is phenomenal as well. Super dangerous off his back. Ilia has the grappling to do it. Charles standing, very textbook, but gets hit a lot. Ilia loves scrapping, loves moving on the inside, loves slipping punches to land punches. He's so good at dirty boxing. I just don't see where Charles wins his fight against Ilia. Ilia is so good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unfair. I think it's justified in the fact that Ilia has starched Max and Volk.
Yeah.
That is such an achievement. Those scalps are huge, dude. Like massive. I do think the weight, it obviously leads to a kind of unknown factor in this fight, but Ilia was struggling to make the weight. He obviously hits like a tank.
Yeah.
I've seen some workout videos of him right now. He still looks fast. He's tight in boxing. Charles gets hit.
Yeah. He's
got the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling to deal with Charles's game. Because once Ilia lands a couple shots, starts stalking you down, that pressure, he never takes his foot off the pedal and just keeps stalking you, gets you into a bad position that you don't want to be in, and then he capitalizes on it.
Furthermore, Whittaker offered a technical breakdown of Charles Oliveira's grappling style, noting that his jiu-jitsu leans more toward the defensive side. He pointed out that Oliveira rarely initiates takedowns to enter the grappling realm, instead relying on his striking to set the tone. Whittaker emphasized that Oliveira is quite technical and straightforward with his kickboxing, often piecing opponents up on the feet. However, he warned that despite not aggressively chasing the ground game, Oliveira remains extremely dangerous off his back, capable of flipping the script in an instant.
I feel like Charles's jiu-jitsu lends itself to being more defensive than offensive. Because you don't really see him shooting for takedowns, trying to get it into that grappling realm. It's normally he pieces you up standing because he is quite technical and straightforward with his kickboxing. And then when you don't beat him there and do a lazy shot or something like that, he's super dangerous off his back. Okay,
Yeah.
he's got all those submission wins for a reason.
Ultimately, Robert predicted a win for ilia Topuria in this showdown. While he voiced clear admiration for Charles and everything he's accomplished, Whitaker believes Topuria's power and precision will be too much. In his view, the fight ends with Topuria scoring a knockout and making a definitive statement in the division.
I think Topuria, I think he's got it. You know, I love Charles, but
Yeah.
gun to my head, I think Topuria is the favorite for a reason.
Knockout?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is what I'm saying as well. I reckon Charles might win that first round. Like Volk won the first round when they fought, and can't remember if Max won the first, but I reckon Topuria takes it as well. Maybe a knockout in the second or the third. Are they there?
Building on that, the Wade Concept analyzed ilia Topuria's style, noting that his game heavily relies on sharp boxing, low kicks, and a mix of wrestling and grappling base. While this well-rounded approach might seem outdated in the evolving landscape of MMA in 2025, the key difference lies in specialization.
I don't think he's thrown many body kicks either. So this is a guy that almost exclusively relies on his hands, his low kicks, and his wrestling / grappling. And that doesn't seem like somebody you would think would flourish in 2025, but a high-level specialist, I think someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov can flourish if they are the highest peak level of that thing, which I think Ilia is. I don't think this is the fight where he can win that inside battle. I mean, sure, you could talk about the clinch work, right? And the Muay Thai plum grip, and the knees to the stomach and knees upstairs, potentially uppercuts that Charles Oliveira can throw, because he isn't afraid of being taken down. And in fact, I think if this fight gets in a grappling spot, I'm not saying that Ilia can't be successful grappling, but I think it's the lesser of two evils to keep this fight on the feet for ilia Topuria, because Charles is nasty everywhere. He's got elbows off his back. He can throw up triangles, leg locks, anything else he wants pretty much off his back. He's so dangerous.
Moreover, Wade broke down what makes Ilia such a dangerous presence inside the octagon, pointing to his knockout power and his ability to close distance with precision. What sets Topuria apart, according to his analysis, is the understanding of tempo control and knowing exactly when to explode and when to stay patient, combined with rock-solid fundamentals that few in the UFC possess.
He fights exactly how you would dream up a guy his size with his muscle mass and his experience wrestling and boxing would fight. And that's one of the reasons I think he is the most dangerous, because he has dynamite in his hands, because he knows how to get to range, because he understands how to switch tempo. He's got boxing fundamentals that no one else has. He has a wrestling and grappling background that keeps him safe in dangerous places where Charles Oliveira may look to go should he start losing the stand-up game. There are things he has to watch out for. Again, the spontaneity of Charles Oliveira, not necessarily in what he does that's so different, but when he'll just decide to throw caution to the wind and throw a flying knee or whatever else, he has to be able to get to range safely, which means avoiding the teep kicks, avoiding the oblique kicks and the head kicks, everything that Charles does in that first line of defense, because I don't think I've ever seen boxing fundamentals, boxing muscle memory, boxing talent at this weight class in the UFC ever.
Building on that, Tim Welch weighed in on the stylistic clash between ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira, noting that Oliveira is known for setting a high pace and willingly trading shots. He emphasized that with both fighters likely to engage in a slugfest, someone is bound to get dropped. Welch didn't offer a firm prediction, but made it clear that the intensity of this matchup makes it one of the most exciting fights on the horizon.
That's one thing Charles does. He brings the pace. He brings the pace and he gets in your face and he tries to trade with you. Someone's getting dropped in the ilia Topuria Charles fight, and it's either going to be Ilia or it's going to be Charles, because they're going to. What's going to happen? I have no clue, but I'm excited for it.
However, Tom Aspinall shared his prediction for the upcoming clash, expressing that he'd be genuinely surprised if the fight goes past the 2.5 round mark. Given the firepower, intensity, and high-risk styles both fighters bring to the cage, Aspinall sees an early finish not just as a possibility, but as the most likely outcome.
I'm not going to get your predictions, boys, but does it go 25 minutes?
No.
Nope, not a chance.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it went past
10?
If it went past 2.5 rounds, I'd be surprised. Yeah.
All action. Guaranteed fight of the night. Should be an absolute cracker our main event.
Building on that, Bilal Muhammad outlined what he believes are the keys to victory for Charles Oliveira, stressing the importance of making the fight gritty. According to Bilal, Oliveira needs to close the distance on Ilia Topuria, initiate clinches, and force grappling exchanges to drag the fight into his realm. He warned that standing at range and trying to box with Topuria would be a mistake, emphasizing that Oliveira can't afford to get clipped by the looping power shots that Ilia throws with knockout intent.
Is Topuria ready for 155? Is his power going to translate? Keys to victory for Charles Oliveira. You got to make it dirty. You got to get close on him. I think you have to initiate the clinch, initiate grappling exchanges, especially early. Don't try to sit there and box with him. Don't strike with him. I know you have a high guard, but you get caught a lot with looping punches on the outside. You don't want to get caught with a looping punch by Topuria. I would say go high body lock. Let's test his strength. Let's see if he's strong enough for 155. Even if you have to pull guard. We haven't really seen Topuria's ground game that well, right? They say he has great grappling, but that's your world. You can wear on him, pull on him. Let's see if he added a little bit too much muscle. That's gonna mess up his cardio, and it's just gonna mess up his rhythm.
Former Cage Warriors middleweight champion Jack Hermanson shared his thoughts on the matchup, expressing his admiration for Charles Oliveira and describing him as one of his favorite fighters to watch. However, Hermanson believes Ilia Topuria's current form is simply too strong to overlook. With Topuria appearing nearly unstoppable in recent performances, Hermanson is backing the rising star to get the job done.
Can't wait for that one. You know, I'm a super big fan of Charles, but Ilia has kind of like, he's just like looks unbeatable at the moment. So I think I will give it to him.
Building on those thoughts, veteran coach Ray Longo, who has worked with champions like Merab Dvalishvili, Aljamain Sterling, and Chris Weidman, shared his take on the matchup and firmly sided with Ilia Topuria. Longo pointed to Topuria's youth, hunger, and striking ferocity as major advantages heading into the fight. While he acknowledged Charles Oliveira's heart and resilience, he didn't shy away from highlighting a key concern: Oliveira's chin. In Longo's view, that vulnerability is something Topuria is fully capable of exploiting.
I believe Topuria wins that fight, and I believe he's going to probably knock him out. That's the way I see that fight going. You know,
wow.
And well, you know what it is? I think Charles, you know, he's a little chinny, but he always manages to come back and, you know, find a way to win. But this kid's 27 years old. He gets you in trouble. He's not letting you off the hook. His wrestling is good. His jiu-jitsu's, you know, going to be good enough for what he's going to do, I believe. He's just a different animal.
Yeah.
You know, he's squared away everywhere. He's confident.
Meanwhile, Bryce Mitchell gave his thoughts on the upcoming clash, labeling it a massive fight filled with danger for both men. He identified Oliveira's knees and work in the clinch as the biggest threats Ilia Topuria will need to navigate. While Mitchell gave the clear boxing advantage to Topuria, he emphasized that if the fight stays on the feet, Oliveira's kicks and knees, especially in open space, could be critical weapons that shift the momentum in his favor.
First thing I think of is the straight line attacks of Oliveira, like the knees and the clinch being the main problem for Topuria. The boxing advantage goes to Topuria, and he's got a great kick too, calf kick. But as far as on the feet's concerned, I see it going on the feet. I really do. I see it going on the feet. Oliveira's got knees and kicks up the middle and head kicks. And Topuria's got boxing.
Lastly, Mario Bautista also weighed in on the matchup, calling it an intriguing clash of styles, but ultimately siding with Ilia Topuria. In Bautista's view, Topuria's well-rounded skill set and surging momentum make him the fighter to watch in what promises to be a high-stakes, action-filled showdown.
That's going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Topuria.
As fight night draws near, anticipation continues to build for one of the most highly anticipated showdowns in recent memory. With legends, analysts, and fellow fighters offering split predictions and strong takes from every angle, the debate shows no signs of slowing down. But with all the talk and speculation, one thing remains certain: when the cage door closes, fans can expect an all-out war inside the octagon. Drop your predictions in the comments below. Who are you backing, Ilia Topuria or Charles Oliveira? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Fight Week coverage. We'll catch you in the next video with more exciting updates from the world of MMA.